It's Save Women's Sports Friday night with Beth Stelzer and Mickey Sixx, speaking the truth about sex-based rights. Hey, Beth.
Hey, everyone. Hi, it's Beth Stelzer here, Yelmy, founder of Save Women's Sports. This is my friend Lara over here. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you. She's up in Canada.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm a university's postgraduate student taking educational research. I also play roller derby, and I've been not allowed to play with my team for being what's the term?
Are you a turfy transphobe?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm okay
That's
with
too bad.
That term kind of brought me to a new understanding of my place in the world. But I thought everything was good. I thought we'd had women's rights. You know, I was born in the 70s. I saw Billie Jean, kick his ass. I thought that we were equal. I thought everything was good. And then all of a sudden, I was told I couldn't speak about my own reality.
So you ended up having some males who identify as female invading into your roller derby team?
Yeah, we did. But worse, we had a case where we had a coach who had a boy. She was transitioning into a girl. And like, I don't know how anyone can watch that. Like, the thing is, though, we're educated from the university level, and she teaches at college. She knows to speak because she was taught at the university level about this inclusive,
had the indoctrination,
celebration. Yeah. And they're using children to create this, perfection. Like, why are we using kids to uplift some kind of lifestyle that we're not even sure makes even any sense, because we've never had a chance to even talk about it.
We know children can't consent.
They don't even know what their own sex is. That they can.
Yeah, so that's really crazy. So they had this child then competing in roller derby with you?
Yeah, well, they have juniors, which is boys and girls.
Okay.
So they normalize that. Now, I'm not okay with that. I see in my small town where we have soccer, boys and girls on the same team because we don't have enough kids.
Yeah. We have that here with hockey.
And the boys just won the league. Like, and the male coaches too. So,
and it doesn't matter what age either.
And it is in every sport. We have, male coaches, and they're deciding. And I really was like excited about roller derby, thinking this would be great. We've got a female coach, and this is all women and empowering. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even know this child was trans. He looks like a girl, and I was just told about, kind of in a team sort of powwow, that trans is the new gay and lesbian. And I'm so behind diversity, and who cares what your sexual orientation is? But we're not putting this in the context of children now, are we? Because it used to be just, men and women of legal consent. We didn't involve kids in this, right?
Right. And now all of a sudden their feelings is overriding our rights and abusing children. But that's a whole nother topic, right? Let's talk about how else we got together. How did we find each other? You want to tell people how we found each other?
Okay, so yeah, basically, I just couldn't stomach the thought of this being portrayed in my sport as normal, because it was really becoming a groupthink, real cult-like atmosphere, right? I mean, that's how I got kicked out of the group, for thinking wrong. I didn't say anything to anyone ever. I wrote for Fair Play for Women in the UK, and someone came across it, and, I was attacked online. I was personally messaged by people. I was unfriended from my team. My team said, you can't play with us. And that was for having my own freedom of thought in Canada. Like, I'm protected under the Charter of Canadian Rights and Freedoms. So that's the crux of it. They stepped over my freedoms, and I see this child being transitioned. That's abuse. can't consent to this. And I'm the villain for calling the little boy a he, right? So I see the sports aspect, but I also see that they're using the sports as a platform for their political beliefs and using children as also
there are a lot of motives, right? A lot
so
of different motives. And
it's a real like campaign.
so you wrote for fair play for women, and
Yeah.
then you ended up doing something else. You ended up starting a petition.
Yeah, and that's how I lost some derby friends, because I asked girls to sign my petition and then they're like, oh, ghosted me, right? And I would have never done another thing again, but then Linda Blade came out and she introduced us, right?
She's
That's
so
how we found each
amazing.
other.
Yeah.
And then I started working for you doing a petition for the IOC, the Olympics, and that actually got somewhere. And
yeah, that was pretty awesome. We actually got a response back from them that, they took our words into consideration at least. Well, it's better than nothing.
yeah.
So it just shows that a small grassroots movement can make waves. And we're seeing that now with what I've been helping doing with Save Women's Sports here across the nation with getting these bills passed, which are being painted as being trans bans, but really we're protecting female sports from males taking over, because we all know it. It just takes a couple of them to change the whole game.
Yeah. And we're so afraid as women to talk about it. Like, we don't have a right to talk about this.
Yeah, we really got put into a spot the last 10 years. They've really worked hard to indoctrinate, gaslight, tell us to be kind, how women need to be nice, and I'm sorry, but my rights do not end where your feelings begin. And sports needs to be separated by reality, facts over feelings, sex separated. And we both agree, as well as many others, it goes well beyond sports. I mean, sports is not just the playing field, right? We go into the locker room, but then the bathroom, but then prisons, rape crisis shelters, hospital wards, so deep sex separated rights go. And when we conflate things like gender identity and sex, we're erasing the definition of what a woman is, an adult human female.
Right.
And it just allows anyone in. And I don't think a lot of people are seeing that. So I'm glad you're here to talk with me today to help show people how being nice to just one person essentially erases the rights that women have fought so hard to have.
Right. And we're so taught at university that it's so important to validate someone's identity. But then we have mimics who mimic identities, and that's not accounted for in the dialogue. And we need a new dialogue at the university to account for the mimicking of identities.
We need a new dialogue in our society. We need to make it safe for women to speak up. I mean, it is absolutely effing absurd that we have women losing their Twitter accounts for saying, but a man can't be a woman. How did we get to this point in society, this Orwellian state of
pulling us back where we can't have a voice? We just finally got to be like distinct, and we need maternity, and there is domestic violence, and a man hitting a woman on the track, I do not care. It's not a good example for my daughter, and I will not take my daughter to any derby event that's showing that kind of example. Boys have incredible testosterone. They can get out of hand. We do not, under any circumstances, encourage a man to hit a woman. Period.
And I don't think people realize how physical the game of roller derby is.
Yeah, and it's a win-lose. And so the attitude for these men isn't cooperation, it's a boundary crossing. If they cared about us, they would have asked or thought.
If they truly felt like women, they would honor our feelings. Exactly.
As we honor them. But you can see the difference right there. The only thing that comes out of their mouths is how well they did and how great it felt. It's not about the other people or even the smallest girl at the back of the auditorium.
It's validation of their feelings.
Because she's getting She's into domestic abuse issues by getting on the track and having contact and feeling her own personal worth and strength. And when there's a man up there scaring her from being able to do that, we have complete, issues that are crossing. And there's just no way when he could easily be playing with the boys.
Yeah, we need to be opening up the male category to being more accepting of males who aren't fitting of typical sex stereotypes.
But the thing is, they can't play with the men. They can't. Nothing is stopping them. They just choose.
They choose not to because they know where they can win their medals and get validation and attention. Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't see it like that. They see it like they're real women because they're in this identity crisis mode.
It's
right?
so crazy. And so many following with the mantra. It's just everyone has been screamed at that trans women are women, and they're just starting to be like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, and we need to be speaking up and stepping up and putting our stake in the ground and protecting what we have. Because it is eroding out from underneath our feet. I know I started seeing that, and that's why I started Save Women in Sports as a place for women to feel okay and to get encouraged and to know that, like, okay, you're going to be called a transphobe. Like, what is that? It's a made up word, basically. Like, whatever.
That's the patriarchy. We know that we're going to have to fight for every inch we get. And we know that men, if they say they want it, they get it in a decade. Proof in the pudding, right? And we have to fight for our own reality against everyone. Well, that just shows that we're in the midst of a patriarchy that nobody is aware of. Why is it so hard for us to speak out without getting fired, without getting kicked off our teams, without getting
sponsorships, scholarships, getting censored on social media? I mean, some people don't realize how big of a thing it is, social media nowadays, to lose your platform on there. If you're writing a book or a journalist, to lose your platform, how else do you reach people nowadays? I have a friend who's a cyclist that was told, hey, we're not going to sponsor your team anymore if you don't shut up about this issue. You're talking the whole team losing their sponsorship for one person speaking up. And she's like, well, they're cyclists. They're pretty much paying their way. They're not professional athletes getting paid to go there every day. Even if they won, they probably wouldn't make up the money it took for them to travel and compete.
Right?
Just ridiculous, the pressure that people are under.
Is that Jennifer? Can I ask?
Yes, Jennifer Wagner Asali. She's so incredible. She is an orthopedic surgeon and this professional cyclist, and she made it all the way to the world championships. I mean, she got third, and first place was a male. She spoke out and basically got accosted, just bombarded by the media, how terrible she was, basically. And it's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And thank heavens she is one strong woman, and she knows better, and she knows that she stands in the truth, and she continues to speak out now whenever she gets the chance. And she's still racing, but she chooses not to race against them, because why should you?
McKinnon, race against McKinnon, let's be specific.
Well, I try not to give them any more attention, since they already think that they are the poster girl for trans athletes.
If we're informing people, we need to know that there's a man named Reese McKinnon who thinks he's an ethical
AKA Rachel McKinnon, AKA Veronica Ivy, AKA Sport is a Right.
Who wants us to die in a grease fire. So
we said all cis women should die in a grease fire. Yeah. And just last night they were telling Selena how horrible they are at racing, and that they didn't even make the team, and blah blah blah. All this. I mean, this is a college professor picking on a teenager like a child. I just don't get it. Yeah, they're going back to Canada. Have fun with them.
Oh, yeah, you can keep him. That's my nightmare. I swear he keeps me up at night. It's like, McKinnon, my dream.
Don't let him live in your head for free, man. Get some rent from that asshole.
I'm kidding.
Oops, went there.
I stopped taking it that seriously. Otherwise, we'd implode, wouldn't we?
We would. We really have to have time, like we're doing tonight, Friday night, to have some laughs, be real. Like, we don't have to take it so seriously. Get out of the Twitter zone and whatnot and have a conversation with a friend like we're doing. And
Girls, get talking. Like, get it off your chest. I know it bugs you.
because we know this is a hard conversation to have out in the public, but when you close the door, it's really not that hard. We are a silenced majority in the public.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And we've found our way. We found our Zoom groups where we can talk about these things. I mean, we've been having meetings on this for 4 years. Hey, Beth?
Yeah, well, it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a whole mass of women, some politicians joining
We've
our
got
behind the
a
scenes.
crazy international coalition of people from all sides, all backgrounds.
Australia is hot with us.
It's amazing thing. Yeah, yeah.
And those are some of the most misogynist countries too, New Zealand and Australia, right? I read some studies from Australia, and the men are just, they have some very weird cultural scripts about women and what their place is.
Yeah. I really give it up to Rowena Edge and Catherine Devs in New Zealand and Australia now that they've started Save Women's Sports Australasia, and it's really taking off. Kath recently became a lawyer, a legit lawyer. And so she is really boots to the ground, working hard to save women and children. And it's so refreshing to see how people have started by looking up to me and others, and now they're making change too. And it's going to be a ripple effect. It's just a courage calls to courage and a knowledge thing. A lot of people aren't aware that this is even such an issue, right?
Yeah, well, I think they're starting to catch on after Biden. I mean,
well, that was a big slap in the face to women. First day in the office, basically erasing what it is to be a woman and letting anyone take it in, you know. And then on International Women's Day, taking it upon himself to rewrite Title IX to include gender identity. Like, okay, dude, even though you're the president, you don't have the right to go changing the laws like
no
that.
Consultation, which results and equals misogyny. You have to ask. You don't just dictate to women. In 2021, oh, isn't that the most feminist? My cousin says to me, oh, don't worry, he's going to do so much for women. And I was just like,
oh no, is this 2021 or is this 1984? Right. I mean, 2 + 2 does not equal 5.
But that's the patriarchy at work. They do not even consider that we should have a space for sports. Linda was telling me about her book, and I was listening to her book. You know, 3 times in the marathon, when we only had the marathon in the Olympics, 3 times men were allowed to compete as women. You know, when we first started up, it's just insane how men will fuck with us. I'll give you a little bit, but then let's watch as a man runs or plays or hits you. Just because sport is supposed to be fun and not, you know, sportsmanlike, like women see it to be, you know? I read this one paper called Stella Walsh. He was a man who was allowed to run, and you could tell he was a man by his picture. Like, it was ridiculous. And the man who was writing the paper, an academic, was saying something. The title of the paper was Cyborg Athletics, and that athletics should just be about the top level competitors. It shouldn't be about community. It shouldn't be about teaching children ethics. It just should be whoever can smash whoever won. And that's win-lose male patriarchy bullshit. And I'm about cooperation and cohesion. I'm not about win-lose. I'm not. You know, that's the difference. We see it differently. So I don't want you on my track beating my ass. I'm not there to beat anyone's ass. I'm there to commune with my girl who needs to talk to me right now. And this is how we work our shit.
And that bond, that relationships changes dramatically when there's a male body around. And let's face it, these quote transgender women, if you even want to use that label, I think we should not. Let's just call it out for what it is. These men, they are in self-reported studies having no interest. Over 90% of them say they have no interest in having surgeries. They are intact male bodies invading sex-separated women's spaces. And
Yeah,
like
we
you
know
said,
that.
like, you've had an abuse victim in your team. You know, I suffered from domestic abuse and PTSD from stalking, and I know how much that empowering powerlifting was for me, and getting stronger really helped me through that. And I know that I wouldn't want to have a male on my team. I wouldn't even have started powerlifting if I know that I would have to compete against males. It's cutting off women's opportunities at so many levels, at so many ages, in so many ways. K through 12, universities, intermoral, community level, elite level, and it shouldn't just be the elite that are protected.
No, little girls need safe space to compete with other little girls and not be beat every time they get on the track. We need to see women in the roles we want to achieve, not a man in a dress. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. I don't
No, and
recognize
we
them
should
as a
not be
woman. I need to
forced
see
to comply with that lie. And that's what it is. It's complying with a lie, forcing us to use compelled speech by using preferred pronouns. You know, it all starts from there. You control the language, they control you. It starts with that. You don't comply with the lie.
yeah,
Simple as that.
totalitarianism.
It's sorry if that hurts your feelings, but we should be speaking the truth. There is absolutely no way a female body can change to a male body and vice versa. You cannot change sex. Now, we
No,
can have a debate about sex, gender identity, all that crap all day long. But when it comes down to it, biological reality, it isn't made up science. It isn't on a spectrum. We
no.
are male and female.
We're validating the mimic over the female, right? When that's
What
a
they're
patriarchal.
using to justify themselves as being a female is just this crazy sex stereotype. And we need to
Right.
be erasing that shit. It doesn't matter. Just because I put on my blazer and my necklace and did a little makeup doesn't make me a woman. My XX chromosomes make me the woman that I am.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it just, you can't mimic it. They want to co-opt everything. It's like, I think of the cowboys when I was a kid, and they'd go to the reservation and they'd be like teaching, and I'm like, these First Nations people don't need to see a cowboy, white guy on a horse. They need to see one of their own people.
Own.
You know, we need to see our women. We don't need to see a mimic, a copy of someone who wants to be like us, like that cowboy wants to be part of this brave culture. He's not. He fantasizes, and he looks like a fool trying to do it.
They are not a woman, they are a scam.
Yeah, right? Stop it. Stop giving credence. Let us have our culture, right? Are they afraid of us having our culture? And why they allow the invasions all the time?
There's a lot of power in womanhood.
There sure is, because we'll live a lot longer because of it. You know that? Men don't live long. They die by accidents and disease, and women, because we have strong relationships, we maintain that hope for life, you know, and avoid that existential crisis.
Yeah, it's a really powerful thing, womanhood and honesty and truth. It has a lot of power, and some people can't handle that.
No, but I do love the men who can, the true men, you know, who love and enjoy
We
our.
do have some knights in shining armor speaking up. I sure would love to hear more from like Joe Rogan and more famous men, because their voices can really make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really pleased with John Cleese. He's the best. And then the Loretta skit that went around. I mean, when it first came out, when I was a kid and I saw that Loretta skit where he goes, I want to be a woman. And he goes, you can't be a woman. And then the woman, the lib femme, steps and he goes, wait, maybe he can be a woman. And it's just so absurd. Way back from the 70s. And John Cleese stands by that. It's absurd. It's fucking absurd.
It is. Let's be honest that we even need to be here tonight discussing this, and that it can be considered controversial at that. Like, hello, what kind of a world are we living in?
Shows the boot on our neck is what it does.
Yeah, that's another way to put it for sure.
Yeah, I feel it. But I think living authentically is how we get through this. I had a conversation with my coach over the weekend, and he started bringing up one of the players, and how the player was always in a box, and he was referring to the player with she pronouns. And I just responded, I said, yeah, he was a good player and he was a sweet guy, but I'm not going to play into it. And I can be authentic about how I feel about him, but he's not a hurt to me. And it doesn't mean that I hate him. You know what?
Exactly. It's not a hate crime.
You know what? He's not a hurt to him. He knows the difference. And we're allowing people to take risks with their lives that they really probably want us to caution them on,
Right.
Yeah, it's
it's absurd. It's
I
absurd.
don't tell an anorexic victim that they look great.
Right. Yeah, we don't feed the disorder.
Right. I care about you on a personal level, like I do everyone, unless
So what can we
otherwise.
What can we say to other women out there, like, besides just speak up?
Like, as a final note, we winding
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
I feel like as a final note is that I truly believe that with every motion up, we have a zigzag down. And I feel like this is a pushback from our momentum as sisterhood women up to get to where we're living in a just society. And some men are going to push back. And this is a weird way for some of them. They don't maybe have full awareness of what they're doing. But I think if we keep having this conversation, I know my friends who call themselves trans, when we talk like this, they understand. On a one-on-one conversation, you can have these conversations with men. You don't have to be afraid to call him, because they know they're him, right? But we do it on a really good friendship-based level. We don't just like, hey, he. We make friendships, and then we make that opportunity available. And if it doesn't
Respect and compassion.
Yeah,
and it should go both ways.
It should always go both ways, right? But we're not going to engage with the crazies. We're just not going to, because it's not safe.
It's another really good tip. Like, don't feed the trolls, right? Like, you do not owe anyone a response. Let that crap just roll off your back and march forward. Keep those boots going. It's this grassroots movement that's, it may not seem much like you're just a keyboard warrior out there with your tweets and whatnot, but it makes a huge difference to show your voice. And just one tweet can make other women do another tweet. And every time I speak up and I get so nervous to go live, I remind myself of how generations before me fought so much more and sacrificed so much harder than me just going up and being nervous in a room for a little bit, giving a speech. And right. So it's the least I can do to protect what they fought hard for, right?
We have safe places to come from and live and return to in our homes, right? Women before us didn't have that kind of safety, even their own husbands, right? So they've come a long way. They pulled hard. Let's not let what they did sink.
No, we need to keep the pressure on and keep going with this momentum that we have, because I definitely see the tide is turning, and being, quote, transgender isn't as trendy anymore. The truth is coming out, and all the glitter is gone, and the reality is there. And I thank you for standing beside me in this battle for the truth, because we will save women's sports and many other sex separated spaces along the way.
Yeah, most importantly, kids.
Exactly. Because kids cannot consent.
No, that's insane. I shouldn't say that word.
All right, Lara. Thank you so much. Friday night. It's been fun. I hope that we can do this again sometime real soon, hopefully
Okay.
next week. All right.
Okay, bye,
Thanks.
then.